Evolutionary.org, episode 647 is coming your way. Today we have an interview with Elite Fitness and Evo logger, Lifted Living with Legacy. And he's come on, he just had a move to Belize, and he's going to come on here and he's going to talk about traveling and working out. He's going to talk about living in another country, how that all works. It's going to be a really fascinating episode. We're going to go over his favorite PEDs that he likes, his training, his diet strategies, and he is really going to try to give as much information as he can in this 1 hour. So we're really, really honored to have him on. Let me remind everyone, we are on Apple, we are on Spotify. Smash the like button. We would love to get you involved in the podcast. This is a community podcast from the ground up. Everybody is part of it, and liking, subscribing, leaving comments, and all that stuff helps the algorithms pick us up and helps us grow further. So, Lifted Living with Legacy, thank you for coming on early in the morning. How you doing this morning?
I'm doing great, Steve. Can't complain. Woke up and I'm in paradise.
Absolutely. So, Mobster, go ahead.
As we've done on recent shows, Earl, it's important for us to be able to get members like yourself onto these shows, hopefully to educate listeners and fellow members of the forums. We can't make these shows without people like yourself coming on to help us do this. So it's important. And I think the other thing is, Steve, not only are we going to try and educate people what it's like moving to another country, the thought process, the culture, and so on and so forth, the sort of big mental shift that most people can't deal with, but also this sense of community that we have. So there's education for younger members, the older members thinking maybe they should have done it, that kind of stuff. That comes from community. That's super important to us, as much on Elite as it is on Evolutionary. And it's especially recently that has grown absolutely massively. So thanks for coming on, Earl. Thanks for myself, Steve, the moderators, the members of both forums, and on the bosses of those forums. Without people like yourself doing this, we can't do these shows.
Well, I'll start by saying thanks for both you, Steve, and Evolutionary for having me on. It's, kind of a surreal moment to be listening to the podcast as long as I have been. And like you had mentioned before, 647, and I'm on it. So it's a pleasure.
So let's start out. Mobster on the pre-show really brung up a good point about traveling and working out. So why don't we start with that before we kind of get into the whole Belize move, and you can kind
Let,
of
let me
give your
let me
yeah,
sort of introduce that a little bit here,
yeah, go ahead.
Steve. Listen, right? So we've on our Australian interviews, a lot of flatters are on a fly in, fly out, which is the big quarry work, mining work, etc., logging work in Canada for some of the Canadians. And myself and Steve and many of the members will have done shift work and jobs that make training very, very difficult. And something that stood out from Earl's log was this idea of training in hotel rooms, which has come up. I think you put truck stops and so on and so forth. So start by letting the listeners know how you've managed, as I like to say, to get shit done, regardless of whether you're on the road, truck driving, as I believe you was before, and being able to still get your workouts in, still training, no matter what the fuck happens. If you can't make it to a gym, how have you managed to do that? And give them the mindset, the sort of, I'll get shit done regardless. A little bit of a shine a light on that as well.
Yeah, so it basically got down to the point where I do this, right? I've been doing this. I prep for a living. If I don't have my food, if I'm not on the routine, I'm losing it. I'm losing my shit, right? So it's just at this point when they say it's a way of life, it very much has become that, all the way down to my kids. My wife weighs her food out. My kids will request chicken and rice, ground beef and rice. Every once in a while, we give them the kid food to just kind of change it up as, refeeds or cheat meals as we call it. But for the most part, it's what I do. So I became a truck driver 2 years ago, and that really started to conflict with what I was doing as far as, my personal goals on the bodybuilding side. And it just became where you're driving 12 hours a day. You have 14 to do that. Well, it's 11 hours a day, 14 to do it. And if you're not on it and or moving and, considering you start to lose time. So to justify to pull over for an hour and a half to do my gym work, cardio, it became where it's just not feasible for me to do this. So I decided to bring the gym to me. I got on the internet, started to look around the adjustable dumbbells, which, they get pretty pricey here in the States. So I'm going to be honest, I do the Alibaba thing. So I'm not scared to admit it. I got on Alibaba, found the same weights, didn't have a brand. Nice, fancy steel, chrome plated, 90 pounds. So I adjust from 5 to 90. Come with a stand. I bought it, they shipped it out, and that was it. I put them in the truck and started working out.
These aren't plate loaded. These are the kind of, you click the selector wheel round to that position. They don't take
Yep.
up much space
Yep.
at all.
Not at all. There was about, when they were sitting next to each other, probably 2 foot by 2 foot square box. That's about it.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
we talked about sort of rubber resistance bands, Steve. I think kettlebell in the trunk of a car that people can put underneath their bed at the hotel and then just drag them out and do stuff. I think, again, people will struggle with the idea. We all get it. We've all done blue collar work at some point in our lives to make the money, to put food on the table, and to enable, as we're going to talk about, your move. But it's the mindset of I'm going to get my shit done regardless. And this thing being really important to me and not having an excuse not to do it, that some people will struggle with. And they want, give us a few ideas of things that you've done to get a good workout. And I don't just mean buying these dumbbells, but literally, have you had to be creative? Have you had to do sort of unusual stuff? What about also, Steve, people asking what the fuck you're doing when you're training in the middle of a truck stop? Yeah.
Yeah, no, you get that a lot. You get a lot of people sitting there staring. You do, and look, let's be honest, the trucking industry is filled with unhealthy people and or just standards, right? Every truck stop has nothing but garbage filled in it. They're attached typically to a fast food restaurant. So they're not necessarily giving us much of an option.
No. Yeah.
And I mean, I honestly, I had all my food. I actually prepped all my food out of the truck. I had a pressure cooker. I had a rice cooker. I would pull into a grocery store that was big enough to fit my truck in the parking lot. I would go purchase all my food. I would go walk back out in the truck. I would cut it up. I would throw the chicken in there and I would go. That was it. So I would pull up to location, excuse me, and my truck would smell like brown gravy chicken. And I mean, you'd open it up like, dang, man, that smells good in there. I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, I got, my the next 3 days worth of food being cooked back here right now as I'm rolling.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it was dedication. I'm going to be honest.
Yeah.
It took a lot, but it was very gratifying at the same time to be
Yes.
able to weekly check in and get better on my check-ins when typically what's going on. I mean, you're talking about blown tires, you
Yeah.
know, truck broken down, I'm on the side of the road and still getting it done. Like plain and simple, don't have no excuses. I mean, I got my kids are watching this. I got people are expecting me to walk across the stage. So at some point in time, they're going to turn around and look at me and be like, dude, what are you doing? Like you said you was going to do this. What's up?
Yep. Yep. Excellent,
I
man.
think it's hard, Steve, for people to imagine in certain. I've talked about shift work and saying when I was doing a 12-hour, 7 days a week, it was all I could do to maintain. But the moment those 2, 3 weeks of crazy shit was over, that's the time to grow and you've got the money that you've been fucking earning. So this has been important to you to do this stuff so you can get the money to do, as we're going to talk about, the great move that you're about to do. So you've done what you needed to fucking do regardless. And again, guys, listen to what Earl said. He's prepping 3 days on the truck. He's prepping ahead of fucking time. And again, the guys that do the fly-in fly-out, Steve, where there's very little facilities on site. Some of those are bringing dumbbells in. Some of those are having to make hard choices with the food, just having meat, for example, because the rest of the food is based on fast food and high calorific
Yeah.
fucking
Yeah.
carb and shit. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Getting the
It's
stuff
a
done.
yeah.
Earl's proof that it can be fucking done, guys.
Yes, definitely.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You gotta prep your own food. So let's get into the what the crux of why I wanted you to bring you on here. Um, you're 40 years old, husband, father, as you say in your log, bodybuilder, all this stuff. And you made the decision to move to Belize. And that's a big decision. You know, it's one thing to move when you're 20 years old or 25 years old and you just want to travel and backpack in a Central or South American country or in Europe or Asia or anything. It's another thing when you have a family and you make that decision to move. So start with that. What made you at 40 years old decide to do this? Is this something that you've been planning for a while, or is this something that just came up the last year?
I'm
No, this
also
is
assuming, Steve, sorry, that he's visited the country at some point in the past and found it attractive. So talk a little bit about what the first visit and what makes you want to move there now or move there now.
so the first visit was my wife and ours honeymoon. We got married in 2017. We went out to, and then we decided to go to Belize for our honeymoon. Went out there for 2 weeks. That was kind of where, because we were able to, when we went there for 2 weeks, we were able to see the country.
Yeah,
It shifted from being a vacation to more of like an exploration with with her and I. So we were able to see what the people were like, what
yeah,
the different villages are like. We call them villages out here. So we were able to see that, you don't just have to stay on the resort. And then once you were
yes.
able to get out and see this, that was, it was pretty much over. I've
Sometimes, Steve,
always,
sorry, Earl, just to interrupt you. Sometimes when you stay on a resort, you get a false impression of a country, and you traveling outside that resort, Earl, is give you a true indication of the country, not just what they want you to see, but what you've gone to see for yourself. Is that correct?
absolutely, absolutely. You're at the resort. So as, a foreigner, you're already on alert. You're already, oh gosh, I'm in the third world country. They're running around with machetes. They're going to hack me up into pieces and I'm never going to be found again. So your mindset is that already. They tell you, okay, if you do decide to go anywhere, please let us know. And, we'll drive you there and, we'll have somebody with you. So there's always that forced security there in your head. You're thinking, this guy's got to be here for some reason, right? They're not just telling me, hey, jump on a bike and go. So, you get this thing where it's just, if I leave here, it's dangerous. I just got to stay here. You don't really get to see. You don't get to see because the people that are there, they're very clean cut. They're speaking English. This is not, they tailor the resorts and the people around the resorts for the people that are coming, not the
Yeah.
people that are around.
Steve, one of the bits of research I did is actually English is their first language. It's not, there isn't a sort of, there might be a derivative of some sort of Central American Indian language, but English is
In
actually
the
their
Indian
first language.
language, native,
Yeah,
native,
well,
not
I'm
Indian.
assuming they're
Indian is
sort of
India. Okay.
no, no, no.
It's okay.
Indian, Steve, there are places outside of India where the phrase India is used, like in your country, North America,
Yeah, but
India.
it's yeah, but it's not
Yeah,
correct. I
so
mean, they're
you have
natives.
Central
So
American
like the
Indians,
native
the
Mayans and stuff.
Inca,
Yeah.
the Inca
Mayans,
race,
yes.
and another race. Yeah, the Mayan. You've actually got stuff in Central America. Sorry, in Belize, which has Mayan-like structures. So that the Mayan language, which would be an
Yeah.
ancient
I
language,
guess I guess the
and you
British
simply,
wanted they called it British Honduras, and they
yeah,
basically wanted it the territory for logging. So I assume there's a lot of forests and a lot of like
yeah.
woods over there, right?
Yeah, there is. There's a bunch of it. It's predominantly rainforest. And to speak on what Steve was saying, the English, it's because it's an old British colony. And up until I think it was like 30 years ago, don't hold me to it, but that's where they got their
Yeah, I
independence.
think it was early 80s, early 80s, yeah.
Yeah, that sounds a bit 30, 40 years
But
ago. Sounds
still, I
about right.
think
Yeah,
the king, they said King Charles II or King Charles III is still kind of the person he still has like power or something. So you guys can
yeah.
kind
I
of look
mean,
that up.
I would assume they still have some
He'd
form
probably
of,
be this sort of ceremonial head of state, Steve. I think Canada still does that. We used to with the
Yeah.
Queen, but in terms of actual
Bahamas, Jamaica, et cetera, et
authority,
cetera.
nothing.
So from what
Yeah.
I've seen, 75% of Belize does speak English. Is that something that you've noticed where pretty much
absolutely.
everyone run into some
That
sort of
was a big reason we moved. Now,
Yes.
don't get me wrong. We have because of cost of living, we have a nanny out here. So our nanny, we pay them, it's $20 US a day, right? So, but she's from Guatemala. Like I got to pull out my app sometimes to talk to her. So here in the next 2 years or so, my kids will be speaking fluent Spanish.
Yeah.
Like it's so, but yes, it's predominantly English speaking. And like I said, that was a big reason we went here because of the learning curve, because it's a very daunting task to sit here and say, I'm going to move my family and then go to a place where you don't
Yeah.
understand
I
nothing,
was thinking
nobody's
in terms
saying.
of what might describe as a cultural shift. So you're not having a culturally shift
Absolutely.
language, you're not having a
Yeah.
culturally shift
You
religiously. It makes the transition that much easier for you. And at the same time, as you just said, it means your kids will be bilingual. I mean, talk about just as to, and again, this is for the benefit of listeners who've never been to Belize. You said about going outside the resort when you first visited. How does it feel? For me to go to Spain, I'm thinking paella, I'm thinking of tapas bars, this kind of stuff. Give it a kind of indication for listeners what it's like living in Belize that maybe is a little bit different from the American or Canadian or British lifestyle, that gives you just a sort of, I'm in a different country now. So little things that maybe feel different, but make it attractive to you just the same.
Living outside, living here in Belize, okay, so it's a mindset thing too as well, right? So listen, you got to understand. So this isn't for everybody. Literally
Yeah,
taking your family and going into another country, like this is not for everybody. If you want the convenience, if you want the sense of security, on these false, check boxes, I should say, of,
yeah,
healthcare, crime, you know the food on it, just all the things that they tell you. Like if those are things that are important to you, then this is not for you, plain and simple. Because you are giving up things. Like I'm just plain and simple honesty. You don't just have stores on every corner. There's two of them in the main town, and there's a chicken place. That's the only place we get our chicken from.
yeah.
There's a person that we call up on the phone and we order our beef from. It gets delivered to our front door.
nice.
So, but at the same time, I don't just have the convenience of going over to a Starbucks or going
Yeah,
over and
yeah.
getting, or just plain,
A
okay, Amazon.
Walmart or a
Yeah, I mean,
Walgreens,
Amazon
how can you
Prime,
do
everything,
that?
every
24
Has
hour
corner.
Amazon
deliveries,
Prime got to people
your
where you can get
Ubers.
on the internet and
Yeah,
have it the next day? That is
yes,
not going to happen here. If we
Yeah.
order something and we're going to do it, project 2 to 3 weeks out till you get it.
yes, yes, yes.
So it's life is a lot. Seems like life is a lot slower over there too, in
But
terms of that.
it's
You have
But
to
that
be
means
more
it's
less
patient.
peaceful
stress, Steve,
though.
less stress. Right? And people
Exactly. It's
need
not
stuff
the
now.
hustle and bustle that we're
No.
typically dealing
Oh,
with of
let me give
just
you an
rush,
idea, Raoul.
rush.
Sorry to interrupt, but one of the
No,
things
go
that
for it.
people, Steve and I have had this conversation with other people we've done interview with, and we kind of joked off air about it as well, where I said, I had my head up my ass in 2011, and I joked about, I didn't joke, I meant it at the fucking time. It sounds like a joke now. My head was so far up my ass. I said, "They give me a hole in the ground with an umbrella, I'll fucking live there," because the stress was really getting on my fucking tits at the time. And the idea of having a much simpler, less stressful, no bullshit lifestyle, which means certain things go out the window. We don't need fucking Netflix. I don't need Amazon Prime. So yeah, that stuff is what people need to get their heads around. And obviously for you, you've made that decision. Talk a little bit about that.
I mean, I decided to trade the noise for peace. Things are slower here, but it's quieter. It's very
Yeah,
more intentional, right? Everything you do, it's planned out. It's not, it's just, yeah. I mean, in the States, I don't have time. I don't have enough hours in the day to put
yeah,
in the work that I need to provide the things that my family needs and then take care of their wants on the same.
So
Here,
yeah, go ahead.
here it's, things are slower, more intentional. Like I said, I get time back. I get hours back a day just because once you start to play inside that system and realize that it's just there's no reason to be just going and going and going. it allows that when you start to see the time it comes back. I have the nanny. She takes care of all the cleaning and all the cooking and
And she's
stuff like
happy to
that.
do
So
it too.
I absolutely, well,
Yeah. For $20 a
Steve,
day, she's happy. And in America, no one
I
can. Yeah,
changed her life.
exactly.
It gets okay.
Yeah,
So the way it gets to it is once I build my house, we're going to build a caretaker house. She now gets to move into that
nice.
caretaker house. In the morning
Yep.
time, she comes over, she helps clean, cook, and do all that. Her husband, they go outside, they take care of the garden, the yard work, and the cleanliness around the house. So it works for them. So yes, I've pretty much I changed her life.
Very beautiful.
Just the simple fact that I gave her a job changed the woman's life.
Yeah.
Like she's family now to us. I know her kids
Nice.
off
And you
top to
can't,
bottom.
in America, you have to be really wealthy to do stuff like that. You have to be multi-millionaire
Absolutely.
to have someone come and move next to you like that and pay them to be basically the caretaker, nanny, cleaner.
What's the phrase that people use now, Steve? And I think Earl could probably say this as well, because you're so busy making money, so busy doing all the things that previous culture needed you to do in order to be doing those things. You go, the phrase I'm thinking of is you don't get to be present. And I mean, in all kind of ways. Now you get to be present, whether that's in your, I think Steve
Absolutely.
hinted that it's education. You're going to homeschool your children. So you're going to be there with their education. You're going to be there in their lives. I've already said they're going to be
It's a good
talking
point.
two languages. You've got someone in the house that's going to help you with all the nitty gritty that enables you to do the things that you want to do and have that sense of pleasure, that sort of
Yeah.
being in the moment, doing stuff that just makes you happy.
Yep. Yep. So let's
Just
go
to kind of
over.
put it,
Yep. Go ahead. Mhm.
well, as I say, just to kind of put it in context of and to touch that present
Yeah.
comment. I've had that's been one of the things that I've battled with as a father for now. For my son is 6 years old, and I'm sure fathers alike deal with it just as well. So it's, like you said, you're trying to provide. And at the same time, you have that I need to be a father. I need to be present because I'm the
Yep.
one that teaches this little boy on how to be a man, how he's going to treat his woman in the future, right? So if I'm not there, I can't do that. So to put it into context, we've been here since last Saturday. Just in
Right.
this week alone, we've stayed at two five-star resorts for a night, and I took my son fishing on the dock 3 times now at this point
Yeah.
in the last like I said, 2 or 3 days. My son's 6 years old, and I know it's shitty, but that's the first time I've taken my son fishing,
Man.
See,
Yeah. Yeah. That's
and I
great.
that's
can
the stuff
do
that
this.
means that's the
It,
those moments is going to wait. They're going to make what you've done, which would be stressful and hard work at times, then make it happen. That's going
I've
to make
sat
in
there,
the first week alone, you've done something
yeah,
Yeah.
meaningful, that's
So
impactful, makes you realize the value of
So let's go over
absolutely.
some of these things. Very, very important to get to. The big thing with Americans, and I talk to Americans all the time. I'm a big fisherman too. I would love to move to Mexico or Costa Rica or Belize or one of these countries and live near the beach and fish, like you said. That would be
it.
like my dream and be able to actually work for money and get to save my money and not have to spend it all. So we're gonna get to the cost of living thing in a second. But the big thing when I tell people that, and I'm sure people have told you this as well. Is, oh my God, it's dangerous. It's dangerous. Central South America, we're so brainwashed, and people don't realize that America, there's just as much
Everywhere
crime
is
as other
dangerous.
countries.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
touch on the
Everywhere.
crime in Belize, fact versus fiction when it comes
Yeah.
to that.
Yeah.
So, okay, so I also too, just to put that out there, I am a resident of the country. So I have my residency here in Belize. So in 2022, I think that was right. 2022, we came out here. At that point, we lived here for a year. And that's the thing you have to do. You have to live here for 365 days. You can't go more than well, you can't miss more than 14. You can't be outside the country more than 14 days inside that year period.
To
So,
get your residency.
yes. Otherwise, you're doing it under the table and you're paying thousands. And I don't feel like doing all that. Um, so we stayed out here for a year. Um, we figured everything out. then we had to go back because of the trucking. That's where it all messed up. We had to go back for the trucking. And, but so anyway, so we have our residency. We, kind of lost my train of thought. You were talking about the,
Crime, fact versus fiction.
crime.
Yeah, how, yeah.
Yes. So I'm actually originally from New Orleans. So like I'm used to the crime and I understand that you could take a right turn on the wrong street and it's on, right? Like I'm not even stopping at red lights if they got a cop sitting next to me in certain areas. So I am very aware that things can get, shady fast. Now, at the same time, I don't walk around like a victim, right? I'm 210 pounds. I don't necessarily look like somebody that's going to be an easy person to mess with. But to
Yes.
touch on the crime, we were here for a year, and that's what I brought it up for. We were here for a year in 2022. And the only thing that we heard that was really, outside of your typical, people hooping and hollering, this, that, and the other was they had a gentleman that got tied up into some things and they ran up in his house and they cut him from ear to ear. But that was the only thing that happened. And that was tied in because he bought drugs from somebody.
So if you stay away from the drugs, that's
if you stay away from stupid shit, you don't get stupid
just like in
prizes.
America, if you mess around with
Or
drugs,
just
same
like
thing.
anywhere else in the world, like Steve said, like, just be smart about it. Don't walk around, expecting everybody to have great intentions because that's just not the fact,
Can you
right?
walk
So,
around in Belize at night, like 10, 11 at night, and go down, to the city and just walk around there or on the beach without having to worry about someone pulling a machete on you or a gun?
yeah,
Okay.
I mean, it's,
That's all. That's all.
I
Yeah.
mean,
Yep.
it's,
It's that sense of
again,
feeling safe. It's that sense
Because
of
I
feeling
mean, if you
safe.
ask most Americans, they'd be like, "Oh my God, if you go there, don't go to at night anywhere. It's very dangerous." Like when I went to the Dominican Republic, people told me that. Oh, it's very dangerous. I never saw anything in the Dominican Republic. I never felt
I
that I was
mean, yeah.
unsafe once. And it's just so funny the way people perceive things because they
The
always look
media puts that stuff
worse.
up, and we have like an innate
absolutely.
fear.
Well,
I've
it
told
And
doesn't
you
that's,
this before.
sell. The media, you don't sell
Statistically, you're more
papers.
likely to be murdered by a member of your family than some random fucking nut. I don't give a fuck what country you
Yeah.
live in.
right.
Domestic violence, the violence on the person is nearly always by someone you know. Talk a little bit, as Steve referred to earlier on, the cost of living, the difference between living in the
Yeah.
States and living in Belize.
Yeah.
What
If you can
things
give
that
us some
stand out?
some
Yeah.
real numbers,
House
like
prices or whatever. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
rents
So,
and
all right.
everything.
So,
Yeah.
what do you want to talk about? Do you want to talk about the housing or food?
Yeah. I mean,
Well,
let's talk about both.
either
Yeah.
Steve, I won't quote the number, but Steve pays some crazy amount of money, which
Yeah. Like where
in a
I
year,
live,
yeah,
I live
yeah,
in South Florida, and South Florida is one of the most expensive places.
expensive. Yeah.
Like to rent a house in South Florida, just an average house, you're looking at 4 or 5 thousand a month. So it's
Yeah.
absurdly expensive.
Oh
Um,
God, you can get
Crazy,
beachfront
crazy.
here. We were about 50 yards from the ocean. If I was sitting on my porch when I spoke in my spliff, I could hear the ocean waves when it was hitting hard enough.
and
And
how
it
much would
was
that be
we spent that. Now this was our first time coming out. We spent $2,000. That was a fully furnished house.
a month,
Everything. A month.
including utilities?
Yes.
Wow. Okay.
We
On the
didn't pay
beach.
anything. I mean, like I said, you walked across the street in toes and sand.
Wow. And it's
Yeah.
quiet. You don't have like sharing walls with people.
Oh no, this was a standalone 2,000 square foot house with a
Nice.
full
Nice, nice.
garage. Like, I mean, it was, I mean, we're not like, and that's another thing. Like, yes, there are wooden shacks with slat windows, but when you come over here and we build, because I'm a contractor by trade, so I own lots and everything like that, or acreages and stuff like that I'm about to start building on. When I build their house, they're going to be when they show up, the standard that I'm bringing from the States is going to be it's high end for them. It's SOP for us, right? Like using PEX instead of regular PVC and or using, different types of electrical and how it's wired and stuff instead of the way they do it. Like I'm basically going to computerize the wheel out here, but I mean, it's very much I mean, the house I'm living in right now is 3 bedroom, all beautiful, granite countertops, real wood cabinets, like all the stuff that's made out here, the doors, everything, it's all real wood. It's from the country.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're not just like mass producing like all of this stuff. And if they are, it's, getting picked up from the States somewhere, and or somewhere else and brought out here.
So a house
So,
like that you bought the house, you're not renting it?
well, then I was renting it at the time.
Okay.
Right now we're paying because we're in Dangriga, we're paying 1,500. Well, no, I'm sorry, we're paying $1,200 a month right now.
Steve,
Um,
good grief.
Yeah.
and we do pay our internet and our what you call it,
Water?
electrical.
Okay.
We pay our utilities.
How
And the
much
only
is
thing is
how fast is your internet and how much does that run? Is it
it's
good
just
quality?
as fast. It's
Is it?
just as fast, and it's no different. I think it's like one something a month, just like kind of comparable to the
Yeah.
States. You're using
If a
Digicel.
storm comes by, does it get knocked out? Because Mobster's internet's always going out. That's
Oh,
why
all
I'm
the time.
That's
All
because
the
it's
fucking
Digicel.
time. I'm
Oh,
So,
okay.
joking about where I live every third world internet. Talk a little bit about food money. So let's say, for example, you went out for a steak meal, bottle of wine. What are we looking at here, price wise? And get Steve, you can give an illustration for the purposes of the
Yeah.
listeners what it cost in America for something similar. So give us a meal that you went out for, Earl, and what would it cost you to have that meal?
if you went into a local restaurant, so depending on what you do, so if you really wanted fine dining and stuff, you can go as a local, you can just go to the resorts. So I
Okay.
can just go to one of the resorts, go in there and say, hey, I want to do dinner tonight. And they're going to say, okay, no problem. Go sit down. Those are typically anywhere between, 11 to $20. And if it's a prime meal, $30 or so
Mm-hmm.
for you to be able to eat a steak dinner, really, but that's at the resort. Now you go to the local, restaurants and stuff like that, you're typically going to be cut in half. So, anywhere between 10 to 20 bucks, you're going to get that steak dinner,
Nice.
potatoes and all of that right there at the restaurant.
I
And
pay
if
more
you
than
want
that
to
for a
go
steak.
buy beef or steak, you said they have to deliver it to you. You don't just go to the
No,
store.
not always. You can
Okay.
go into the store, but so like with the beef, we just started to get it because we would order, you know, we were ordering at the time like 60, 70 something pounds of meat. We would order all our steak cuts,
Mm-hmm.
our cube steak for stew, and then all the packs of ground meat. And they have the different cuts too out here. So, I mean, a lot of the time I'm eating either I can eat the ground beef or I can eat steak like ground up steak, so I mean,
How much
and
per
that's
pound would you estimate? Because in America, if you want good quality grass-fed beef, it's about, it's getting pretty expensive in America. It's actually the most expensive it's ever been now. Just depends. But you're looking at like a New York strip and at a nice place like Whole Foods that's good quality. You're looking at $25 to $30 a pound. How much would it be there?
Yeah, no, so I haven't I was trying to look for the receipt that I had all the steaks on there, but just to kind of put it in context, the other day I went to the store at the chicken place and bought 3 bags of chicken breast and 10 pounds of ground beef.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was 93 or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And between the bags of chicken were roughly 4 pounds each. And I got all of that for, I think it was like $30.
Wow. So it's way
That's
cheaper than
$30
America, right?
Yeah,
US.
cheaper than here. Yeah, that's
So
crazy.
roughly 12 pounds of chicken and 10 pounds of ground beef for about $30 or so. It was like $40 when it came out to be because I had other things on the receipt, like BA, which is baking flour. They call it BA out here. And for 5 pounds of that, it's $2 For 6 bananas, it's $1. For one apple,
Mm. And it's
$2.
all
And this is,
fresh, right? Because they grow them
oh,
close by.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, you put it on your counter within a day or two, it's going bad.
Yeah, yeah. So
It's
completely
not.
organic, yeah.
Absolutely. The bread man, he comes rolling up in a little motorcycle with the little bell, and he comes ringing his little bell. You go out there, all fresh. I
Mm.
mean, our bread will go
That's
bad
the stuff
within
I'd like,
days.
Steve.
Yeah.
I really
So
would
it's
like
good
that.
quality natural bread. It's not like
It
it's not
No,
processed
none of that
crap.
preservatives. We
Yeah.
got here and our bread went bad within like a few days.
Yeah.
And I'm like, damn, we got an old batch
Oh
of
yeah.
bread. This guy, blah, blah, blah. The second one did the same thing. And then we had to realize, like, hold on, this ain't the preservative bunny
Exactly.
shit we used to eating on.
Yeah. They put
I want to
all
To
that
ask
the
you
crap.
point
one
where
more. Sorry.
when we went back home, my wife would be like, "Oh no, we had this bread longer than like a week." She
Yeah.
would throw the shit away, and I'm like, "Dude, it's it's bunny bread. It ain't going bad like
Yeah.
that."
It's
You
yeah.
I
know?
want to ask you one more thing relating to Belize before we start talking about
No,
PEDs.
no, no, we still have some more
Training.
stuff, Mobster.
Well, no, no, this is
We-
to do. It's to do with Belize.
yeah,
Sorry,
go
mate.
ahead.
So
Mhm.
one of the things that you wrote in your log was the idea of being fully sustainable. So are we looking at here growing stuff on your property, or you talking about
Yes.
generating your own electricity? So talk a little bit about that aspect of your move.
So we purchased, like I said earlier, we had purchased originally when we came out here. We purchased 3 acres in it's called Bokawina, which is it's a rainforest out here.
Hmm.
And we're about 3 or so miles away from the rainforest waterfall, towards the area of Bokawina. But this is some of the most fertile land in the country. Like you could damn near flick a seed and watch a tree grow. So I have all intents and purposes, and that's, a big thing with the kids of starting the responsibilities of life, but not
Yep.
necessarily being in a chored manner. We get up as a family, we do our cardio as a family, we go tend to the garden as a family. We go, if that's your aspect of the morning routine, you go pick the chickens or you go pick the eggs out the chicken coop,
Yes. Yes. Yes.
or you go over there and you deal with the cows. So all of this is not just oh, I'm just going to be a homesteader, I'm running away from the states and I don't want to do this. Is all calculated and very structured for a reason, because I'm pulling my kids away from that conditioned.
You're teaching them how things grow. You're providing them with fresh fruit and vegetables, fresh eggs. Steve, how many times have we talked about eating organically on the
Yeah.
shows?
Very
This is
healthy,
as
yeah.
organic as it fucking gets.
Yep,
Literally, there it is.
it's
You're
in the
taking it out of the
backyard.
ground. Yeah, yeah,
Oh, it's great. Talk about we got to talk about banking because this is another issue. Let's say, you work your whole life, you get to 60, 65, you get to mobster's age, you got like $1 million in the bank, you're like, fuck it, I'm gonna move to Mexico, I'm gonna move to Belize, I'm
yeah.
gonna move to Costa Rica, any of these countries. I can
Mhm.
survive on that the rest of my life and live a pretty damn good life, like what you're saying. What do you do about the banking situation? Is there American banks in Belize that you can just walk up to the bank and withdraw money? Do you have to transfer your money to a bank in Belize? How does that work?
You don't have to. I'm not 100% confident on it, but I think you can only get a bank account if you have some form of like a work visa, which is very obtainable, right? You come here past 30 days, you're starting to pay duties. You can apply, which it's $100 a person, US.
Hmm.
You have to pay it every month, otherwise they're going to be bitching and complaining. But you can then set up your bank account with the Belize bank. Um, but outside of that, you can swipe your American debit cards, no problem. They take them. And there are shops here that you can walk in and say, hey, I have American money. I need to change it over. And they'll charge you a little fee. Or you can
Hmm.
actually go to the bank and they can transfer the dollars. But, and again, your dollar, the US dollar doubles out here in Belize.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So like let's say
So,
like big amount of money. Let's say, you want to buy a house or you want to pay your rent. How do you do that? You just because I mean, you have to how do you withdraw the money out of your American bank to pay that is what I'm what I'm asking you.
So most of the people that are going to be doing rentals and things like that, they typically have some type of association with the state, some way,
Okay.
some form or another. And that's, the Zelle works just the same.
Okay.
So, it's kind of one of those things where I have a cousin. I need you to send this, the Zelle payment to my cousin, and they're going to transfer it from their account to the Belize bank, and then from the Belize bank to the next Belize bank.
Okay.
So here, now that I got my residency finished, I'm waiting for the cards and the final check to go through at the what's the name of the building? US Customs or whatever, thing I have to go through. Once that's done and completed, then I can go ahead and get my driver's license and all of that, and I can purchase.
Okay.
I mean, not
And
purchase, I can get, like I said, a regular bank.
because it is a British territory, I'm assuming they drive on the other side of the road, right?
No, they drive
Do they?
regular.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, we
Gotcha.
drive on the right side.
Okay. And then in terms of the infrastructure, the roads and the streets and how's that over there?
I mean, look, don't get me wrong. It's like when we first got here, and that was kind of the things. It does. It completely deters you on doing certain things because the road is so bad. It's just like
Yeah.
this is not like this is gonna wear my vehicle out, and it's just kind of not even worth it, really, honestly. Like that's how frustrating it is. But we came back, here we are 2 years later, and they've paved the road from Dangriga, which is the town that we're living in right now, to Hopkins, which is the town that we lived in before. So now it takes us 12 minutes to get to from the main town, the hospital, and everything like that to our property that we're about to build on.
Okay.
You just
And
mentioned hospital there, Steve. What's healthcare like
yeah, I was
in
gonna ask
Belize?
that too. Yeah.
I mean, everybody, look, it's healthcare. These are still doctors. There are still standards that they stick to. Now, when you walk in there, the facility might not be, MD Anderson, but like back in the States, but this is still a doctor that went to school, and this guy or girl probably went to in the States.
Yeah.
So you're getting the healthcare you need. And it's just it doesn't come with the insurance cost. Like
Yeah.
That's
the
what
other
I
day,
was going to
my
ask because
It's
we have
cousin
the
not.
got
Yeah.
sorry, yeah. Oh, we have the NHS in this country. You've got Medicare, Med-Aid in the States, which is I don't know much about, and obviously private medical care. Give us a vague idea. Do they have an insurance scheme? Is it a nationalized scheme? Is it free? What's it work like?
no, they do. They do have an insurance plan that you can pay into, and it has just the regular copay and deductible and all of that. So to
Oh,
put
that's
it
good.
into my cousin had because I do have that was another thing that kind of also added to I do have family here in Belize.
Nice.
So um but he had to get a hernia and something with his gallbladder because he had the stones or something like that, I think. And when it was all said and done, the surgery cost him $14,000, and that's Belize. So you cut that in half, it was $7,000, and that's what the insurance paid.
Mhm.
So imagine that in the States,
Yeah, I was going to
you
ask
know,
Steve, what would that cost in America, Steve?
I mean, just depends. I mean, six figures probably. Just as
Jesus.
easily,
you know.
with all the add-ons and the
Yeah.
Yeah.
rehab and this and that, so for us to just be able to go in there and like I said, okay, so also if something serious was to happen, Houston is nothing but a 2-hour flight. And I
Yeah.
mean, but at the same time, I'm 100% confident enough that
Yes.
I mean, if it comes down to it, bring me to the hospital and let's let them do what they do. I'm not going to sit here and be stupid and say,
That's what
that
people want to
doctor
know.
doesn't
You
know what
want to
he's
know that you're
doing.
going to get, yeah. I mean, you want to know that this is the thing again that Steve referred to, this concept or idea of a lack of a standard of medical care. This is the last thing you'd want to find out. It was third world medical care. So you being confident that if you have something, you break your leg, you get cut, have an accident at home or something, you want to be able to go to hospital and it's sterile, that the surgeons and the doctors know what they're doing. The cost is a fraction of the states and it's competent. It's that thing that at the back of your mind gives you that sense of security that other people
Yeah.
might struggle with. The idea of, yeah.
I'm just very real about the situation. Like, I guess real wouldn't be the right word to say. I guess I'm trusting in a sense, which is probably not really the best word to say either. But I mean, look, it's a hospital. They got to be taking care of people to a certain standard. If not, the shit would be national news, right? Every time somebody
Yes.
goes into this hospital in Belize, they die. The
Mm.
hospital wouldn't, like, the government would shut the shit down. Like, they're not, there's, you know what I mean? Like, come on.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
let's talk
Like,
about
It's just people's perception, Steve. Yeah, but do you want to talk?
absolutely,
Yeah, go on.
so
absolutely.
let's talk about another big concern. A lot of people are listening to this. They're like, "Well, I want to move there, but how am I going to get steroids?" They're like, "Well, I need my TRT." A lot of people are doing self TRT, and they're like, "Well, how am I going to be on TRT? How am I going to get my steroids? I need my DECA. I need my trend." Tell us about steroids living in Belize. Is
In
that
Belize,
something?
yes, yes.
So get it shipped just like you would anybody else. Or any other country. There's third party shipping that you can, they're called freight forwarders. I haven't actually used like a said DHL or like a proper shipping company. What we
Yeah,
use is called their freight forwarders. So what happens is you get a package and you say, "Hey, I want to do this," and it sends. Now you got to trust the system a little bit. And keep in
yeah,
mind, you're not going to get it next day delivery. So you kind of got to order in advance. Trust who you're sending it to, because like I said, we just use the freight forwarders. It's a lot easier. You get it shipped to them. They're going to package it up in another box when it comes,
yeah,
if it needs it, or if it's good like that, they're just going to put it in a bin and say, "Okay, this is going to Belize. When the next shipment goes out, this
yeah,
gets
yeah,
added to the truck."
yes.
So
I
you're
mean, here's the
ordering from a
thing, Steve. Sorry. In some countries, and we've actually said this on the forum, it used to be the case. Mexico's an obvious example. France and Greece, that you could actually get steroids over the counter. Even India is a good example. Again, low dose versus the kind of doses that we're used to. Is that the situation in Belize, or are you better doing what you're already doing, which is ordering from the States and having it shipped over?
So, just to be transparent, I haven't done research as far as the gear
Okay.
side of it because I've just always been comfortable with
Doing what
bringing
you do
myself
already.
and
Yeah.
take it
Yeah.
with the sources
Yeah.
that I have. But when it comes to like pharmaceuticals and things like that, and the only reason I'm bringing it up is just because, to kind of relate to it, you can walk into drugstores here, and I mean, they got a price list on the wall. They got hydrocodeines is this price, hydroxycodones at this price. The out of stock on this one, a line through it.
Yes,
So
on one of
it's
the, yeah, yeah, yeah. It's a
yeah, you
different
can
way.
still
Yeah,
walk in there and say, "Hey, Dr. Rowe, I need this, that, and the other," and he's gonna, as long as you're not walking in there like some crackhead that's using and abusing, you'll
exactly.
get your script.
So Cialis and Viagra, you just walk into the store and just say, "I need some Viagra," and you can buy it.
So that I'm pretty sure you can do that here. Yes, there are like I guess a Walgreens. Maybe you know that one, Steve. I'm not sure what you got out there, but like it's just
Yeah.
uh what's the word I'm thinking of? A pharmacy. They do have little pharmacies that have, like just as it would in the States. You go in there, they have all the different creams on this and the prescriptions for that. And yeah, I mean, they just like you would anywhere else.
Okay. Yeah, when I was in the Dominican, literally the little hut that they have in front of the resort, you walk in there and they got like Cialis, Viagra. I mean, you can buy like one or two. They're not gonna sell you like the whole rack, probably, but you can buy, yeah, like any medication. They have Tylenol and aspirin. They have all the
Yeah,
drugs right
yeah.
there. You can just like buy it for a couple bucks. So it's not, yeah,
Mhm.
definitely different. So let's get into some of the steroids that you like to use. And looking at
I've
your
got,
log,
sorry, Steve, I've
go
got
ahead.
a list here, and
Yeah.
you microdose daily. Is that correct, Phil?
Yes.
Let me read this list, Steve, and it's quite a list. So I'll try to be quick but concise here. 85 milligrams of sustanon, 40 milligrams of DECA, 35 milligrams of NPP, 50 milligrams equipoise, 50 milligrams DHB, 15 milligrams trenbolone enanthate. I'm still going. 5 IUs of growth hormone, 600 milligrams of L-carnitine, 500 micrograms of BPC 157. I'm nearly done. 250 micrograms of TB 500, 500 micrograms of KPV, 5 milligrams of GHQ-CU, 1 milligram of MOTS, and then I've put underneath here insulin chew. That is quite a list on a daily basis. Talk about your favorites from that list, but again, why that's a hell of a list on a daily basis. Talk a bit about that.
So, yeah, so my favorite, I've been partial to sauce here for a little bit just because of, how I feel off of it. I guess I don't know if it's an anecdotal thing or, in my head, I just, but I've been, more um, favored towards the sauce on that. But I've really been enjoying DHB as of lately. I just added it. I was sitting there. I don't know if I'm gonna get scolded for this or not, but a guy, Dr. Todd Lee, I listened to on YouTube, and who was it? I think it was Vigorous Steve. I think also brought it
Yeah.
up about DHB, and I started doing research, and it was, basically told that it was supposed to be the cleaner, basically like trend, and you still get all the good hardnesses and the vascular, the grain of it.
Less of the side effects. Is that correct?
Yes,
Yes.
basically. I haven't been able to, because of the move and everything, like I said, I've only been running for a few weeks, but I'm going back to the States in February. So I'll be getting blood work done then in the beginning of February, I think. So I'm trying to hold off till I get to then to see exactly what's going on. But man, I really do enjoy it. The strength went up. Like I said, the muscle separation and just it's pretty gnarly. I like DHB a lot.
So what are you trying to do when it comes to, your bodybuilding goals? Are you planning on traveling and competing in the future, or are you just doing this to be a gym rat for now? Or
So they do have bodybuilding out here, but it's not IFBB. It's actually called the BBB, Belize Bodybuilding Association or something like that. So they do have two contests or two shows here in the country. They have the Mr. Belize and then they have the Spartan Classic. So I have all in purposes on trying to compete in those shows to start to get used to. I mean, honestly, it's going to be more of like a local show.
yeah.
That's who I'm really going to be competing against. And it's, the whole country, and they only have two shows, but it's going to be more of a standard to a local show. So that's going to allow me to see what I look like and actually go through a
Yeah.
proper prep. Because that was the big thing is I've tried this before, but I tried to do it in the truck. And I got up to about a month and a half out of the show, and it just started to get to the point where it was just too much. I just couldn't keep up, and stress would happen, miss a meal. So anyway, so yes, I have all intents and purposes of competing up here. There's the show in April for the Spartan Classic or Mr. Belize. So that'll probably be my first show that I run. We'll see what we look like, catch a rebound, and either compete for a local show in the States, after a few months after that, or just go back into a growth phase and try to get bigger.
What's
But
the
yes,
standard of bodybuilding like in Belize? Because I've seen pictures of your physique in your log, and you're kind of gnarly looking, especially in the upper body. And I'm just wondering, Steve, if you're absolutely fucking dominate at 220, 230 pounds versus perhaps the locals who might be topping out at 200 pounds. So that would be fucking crazy for you to go over there as a resident now and maybe, especially if you get in condition, absolutely dominate. I want to ask you one other thing here, Steve, and I made a note of this as a completely separate thing. And this is hardcore as fuck. A chicken and rice smoothie. What the fuck is that like as a diet?
delicious.
Oh, I can't imagine, Steve.
Bro, okay. So you got to get it down. And when I like after a workout, my stomach is just amped up and, just trying to get everything to settle back down. But I'll blend. I take the 250 grams of rice, 200 grams of chicken. I put it in a blender, blend it up with some water. It turns it into soup. You just got to think about it that it's soup
Yeah.
and drink it. But it's a high protein, high carb packed soup.
Yeah.
Chunkies ain't got shit on this.
Yeah, yeah.
That's hardcore.
Tell us about the gyms over there.
Yeah.
Are you training
Yeah.
at the resort gym? Can you just walk in there
No,
and like,
so we have once I build my house, I'm gonna be building like a first class gym. So
Nice.
that'll take care of that. I'm ordering all the shit off of Alibaba. They got it where you can buy like each equipment for 600-700 bucks. You just gotta buy 10 plus equipment. Well, I'm just gonna order every single one of the equipments that I need and get it shipped out in a Connex. But I mean,
Yeah.
they'll paint it whatever color you want. I'm going to put Lifted Living on there. So I'm going to have branded equipment
Nice.
in my gym, you know? So, but right now there's a gym. I went in there the other day and got a workout in, um, small gym. It's got a squat rack, an incline bench, cable machines. It's got flat bench, goes up to 50 pounds on the dumbbell. So that's going to be good because I can bring my dumbbells in there and I'll have up to 90 pounds. It's
Nice.
got a hack squat, a leg extension, and it's got an old school hammy kickback machine, the one you lay down on and you hook your legs in and you swing them back. So I'm about to build up my back and my legs and my hamstring. But I mean, dude, it's got everything I need. But you got to understand also too, I've been doing truck stop workouts off the
Yeah.
back
So
of my
by
trailer.
comparison,
So
yes.
I walked into this place and was like, fucking right. I'm about to move. Like, hell yeah, this is it. This is all I needed. I turned around. It's got a speaker system that I could hook my phone up to. There was
Nice.
nobody in the gym. So I'm about to blare my music and get it on.
What might be nice for you, and this is just one of those things that's going to help you feel at home, is that the big American muscle man, IU, brings something to maybe the local physical cultures, to local bodybuilders, in terms of they're going to want to train with that freaky looking motherfucker, IU, and doing that kind of stuff. And I always say, Steve, when people say about, oh, my gym doesn't have, my gym doesn't have that, I've added to that shit. So you bringing your own dumbbells adds to that. You bring in
Hmm.
yourself might add to the local bodybuilding scene and community, and that in and of itself settles you in. The guys accept you now. You know people locally. You're training with local bodybuilders, so that could be cool. What is the bodybuilding scene like? What's the standard like? You mentioned those two shows. What's the standard of bodybuilding like in Belize?
I mean, they're very unhealthy people, to be honest with you. So, like, as far as when I'm pretty much the biggest dude in the village. They got a few of the guys walking around that are just genetic freaks that don't know what they have, and what they could possibly do.
Yeah.
But, like the other day I was running in town and it's cool as hell too, because I think, it's pretty awesome to be running there and little kids are throwing up their arms, doing double biceps as they're going to
Like
school,
Superman or
running across this.
Yeah,
Yeah, hell yeah.
yeah,
They're running
yeah.
across, they're freaking, chanting me on, giving me fist bumps. So, it's cool. And I was also talking to the owner. So when I first approached him, I was like, look, man, I need more of a 24-hour. I can't really be sitting here because sometimes it changes, but really and truly, I need to be in there early because I want to be able to still function with the kids throughout the day. So at this point, we're going to start to shift the gym time to the mornings, can get my workout in, and I'll be done with it. But so I was talking to him and he's like, man, I put all this time into it and I put all this money and it's just like people suck. They don't really like nobody. Cause I was like, look, how many people are going to be in there? I want to be able to do it shirtless. They got these big ass mirrors. I want to be, hooping and hollering, screaming, telling myself, let's fucking go. Don't be a fucking
Mm,
bitch.
mm,
And
mm.
I don't want to have people looking at me all sideways. And he's like, no, man, at 6 in the morning, nobody's going to be there. Trust me. He's like, nobody is going to be there. So
and
really, I'm trying to bring health to this country.
that's
Like I
good.
said, I have family here and I'm going to start with them. But I just talked to the gym owner about possibly starting to run some female
Classes.
only,
Yeah.
quick boot camp classes. I
This
thought
is what
about
I
maybe
want
doing
about.
a
What's
lift-a-thon.
the
Yes.
what's the price on that gym?
Yeah. What's a monthly membership or a walk-in, whatever?
He's got it. I mean, I'm gonna be, he's kind of pricey to be honest with you. So, but he's got it at $50 a month.
Oh, okay. That's
Um,
still not
you
bad.
know,
It's not
no,
bad.
it's not. But for you to be paying $50 a month, again, this isn't a 24 hour.
No.
I don't have all the
Yeah. I guess
machines,
he has
you know.
not there's not enough competition for him to drop the price, right?
No,
Or
but
not enough
also
users.
too,
Use it. He hasn't got enough people using the fucking thing to drop the price.
well, but that's the thing though. It's like, man, you've already invested. You already have it here. You're running it. You're losing
Mm.
money at this point. You better fucking do something. Switch it
Yeah.
up. Drop the price and try to get the people in there. Once
Yeah.
If
you
you
get
run
the
that
push
class like you
going,
suggested, yeah, if you run that class, or especially like the ladies class that you just talked about, you might be adding to it. So then you might be able to work out a deal for yourself where you train for fuck all, and he's making money off the ladies class. It's all fucking good. So like I said earlier on, you put something into it, you're improving the local scene. You're already inspiring those kids in town. They probably think you're John Cena or something. So then it becomes a cultural shift. We had that on one of the other shows the other day, Steve, was we've seen pro bodybuilders asked if they're wrestlers, and someone had been mistaken for John
Yeah.
Cena because that's all that the locals knew. So yeah,
right,
that's
right.
awesome. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Steve, any thoughts on the
Yeah.
whole sort of moving to another
Yeah, I
country
was gonna
via the
ask,
listers? Yeah.
can you give some a handful of mistakes that you made during the whole moving process that other people who
Yes.
choose to do
Yes.
this can
Before we
kind of
finish,
avoid
yeah.
Um,
or
Things
tips?
you done right, things you done wrong.
yeah, so I
Any
would
tips
definitely,
on how to let's say you want to, you go there, you take a vacation there, and you're like, wow, I like this. Maybe I want to live here for a year. Who should they get a hold of? What are
Yeah,
some
that's a good one.
ideas? Who
so
can they
like
get a
here
hold
in
of? A
Belize,
realtor? Who?
we have regular Keller Williams, we have Remax. There's other leasing companies that you can get in touch with. But honestly, I'm more of a hands-on type person. I know that if I go to these big box companies, that it's going to come with a big box price. That's just the way it works. So I'm more prone to be the type of person that's going to go, I'm going to find a local. We're going to start to talk this, that, and the other. And then I'm going to start to ask, listen, I'm trying to find a place to stay. Is there anybody out here that's got some rental property? Because again, I want to talk to the locals. I don't want to because really what you're going to be dealing with Remax and these Keller Williams is foreigners that bought the property. They don't necessarily live there and they're just renting it out till they decide to come on their little vacation for the year. So, they're going to slap that big old price tag on it and say it is what it is. Whereas if you can get in with the locals and talk to them, they know they got properties. They also know the owners of these properties. That's what you want to go and talk to. Those are the people because you're going to get the good price. You're going to get the local rate, not the
Yes.
I'm a
Yeah.
foreigner. I don't really care about the place. Just slap, $3,000 on the price tag. And whenever somebody comes, they come.
I can think of
You
one
know?
example. I've actually done this myself when we fetched over a load of, I think, 2,000 protein shakers from China with a freight forwarder, like you mentioned earlier on. If you use the local, Steve, you can share a shipping container. You want to bring over a fridge freezer from the States and they're bringing over a container load of whatever the locals want. You just have a corner of the container. You're not paying a specific price. You're just paying a little bit towards the overall cost, which helps them and it helps you at the same time. It might take a month. It might take 6, 7 weeks, but it's a much better way of doing it than, as you say, going to a big company who will charge you like a quarter container, even if you're not going to fill it up. You're charging a premium to get it quickly versus if you don't mind waiting, you can do a deal with a local and they're bringing over, I don't know, shampoo, a container load of shampoo, but there's room in there for your fridge freezer. There's room in there for an American sofa. So much easier to do those things. And you can and you can haggle. You can't fucking haggle with the big companies. You can go and haggle with a local.
Yep, absolutely. That is 100% right. That's, but then again, that's the relationship.
Just to
That's
finish, and this is more that we've been asking a lot of our guests that have come onto these shows. You're on Elite. We're talking about Evo earlier on. Give us a sort of things that have been useful, pluses about being on Evolutionary, being on Elite, and the help and the information, the back and forth, and the community stuff that we touched on earlier on. Because we're talking about community Belize. What about the bodybuilding community and the kind of back and forth that you've had on Elite? in regards to coming onto the show today?
Honestly, okay, so having the logs has given me the accountability
Yeah.
that sometimes goes to slacking in certain areas. Things get a little rough, things stress me out. Well, we slack on this, we don't go to the gym, we don't do that. Having Elite Fitness there, having people there commenting, looking on it,
Yes.
following, it's the accountability. Because 2 months ago, I wrecked my truck. I was driving it. It was nighttime, and it got squirrely. I put it in the ditch. I'm okay. Everything's fine. The truck got totaled out. But I mean, I went through, it was rough. Like I lost 10 pounds. I mean, I wasn't eating, but having Elite Fitness there and having the accountability, having people, liking and being there, asking
Yeah.
questions was the boost that I needed. It gave me my second win. It kept me close enough to the fire where I didn't stray off too far.
Yeah.
So honestly, having Elite Fitness, and also once Steve had messaged me about the podcast, that locked me in even more. So honestly, having Elite Fitness, doing the log, it's everything. I
Let
mean,
me
it's
ask
not
you one
just
more question, Earl, and I think this is the big one in its own way for the Belize thing. What was your last day at work before you handed the fucking keys back or whatever on working in the States the day before you're due to make the shift and get ready to go to Belize? What the fuck did that feel like?
it really honestly didn't click until I got here. And it was more so watching my son yesterday fishing, man. That
Yeah,
was
see.
cool, not to get emotional.
No.
Well, I'm a
And
Um,
fisherman too.
it's the reason why you do these things. You don't realize perhaps sometimes that that's part of what you're doing. And the keys at work thing, I never give a fuck work, especially the
right.
last few years. So the idea of you going, okay, I know I've got to pack my bags and I've got to shift and I've got to make sure this is done. I've got to make sure that's done. And that's all a rush, a rush, a rush, a rush. So you're finishing work. Could have been a big deal, but it isn't. Everything goes rush. Everything else is stress. You relax, you're moving, you unpack your bags. And as Earl said, not to be emotional, but now he sits down third time this week with his son on the dock with the line in the water, and you go, "I'm at home. I'm here."
Absolutely.
Did you guys get
Absolutely.
anything?
Steve's
He
going to
caught a
laugh.
little
What fish did
pompano.
you catch?
He caught a little pompano. And
Oh
my
yeah?
cousin,
There you
because we
go.
actually had one of my cousins from the States, and she brought her two little boys and her husband out there. Well, little boys, they ain't little, they're 22 and 18, big ass kids. But they were, and it was cool because my son has never met his cousins before. So,
Nice.
and one of them, he makes his own lures. It's Landon Lures. And it was awesome to see the relationship between them to kind of kick it off, because he was over there. Because I told him, I said, your cousin's a really good fisherman. That's what he does, blah, blah, blah. And he was over there. He walks over and I can hear him. Do you have any tips that you can give me to help me
See,
cast? And
yes,
he
Kirby.
reeled that thing back in there and he broke it all down to him and showed him this and flipped the bail. And I mean, to the point where, like I did the same things with this kid, Landon, when he was younger. I was the one that was with him and took him
Yeah.
four-wheel in and doing all this stuff. So to come literally 14, 15 years later and to see him do the same thing with my son, I mean, dude,
That's awesome.
it's everything, man. I
Nice.
So
got my
one more question I actually
Man.
forgot to ask you. What about the bug situation there? How bad are the bugs?
so they do have some sand flies. The
Oof, yeah.
mosquitoes are pretty gnarly. They're no joke. But you start to get used to them. Obviously, you work within the time frames that they're not there. Sand flies come out at a certain time, the mosquitoes really come out at a certain time, so you go inside.
Yeah. You don't have
Listen,
any
guys, we are right.
natural
We're sorry.
yeah.
Yeah, we're well over time, guys. So, I mean, thank you very much for coming on today, Earl. Again, for the benefit of our listeners, the idea, the concept, this sort of thought process of going to another country can be a very big deal. I hope that Earl's information today is not as scary as it can be. You make of what you want, and listen, as we said, we've done a couple of shows that have been a bit emotional in terms of sort of the sensibility that's come across. And Earl having that space and time to be a father. Steve, I know, will love the fishing stories because it's a big thing for him when he wants to relax. So, Earl, thank you so much for coming on for these shows, giving us an insight, letting us get a sort of flavour of these kind of things. And again, for the benefit of the listeners, educating them, you know, not everywhere is a third world fucking country. Stuff can sometimes actually be better. And as long as you put the work in and do your research, it doesn't have to be crazy hard. And there are companies out there that will charge you a few quid and help you get these things done.
So,
any final thoughts, Steve, just before we finish?
Make sure you guys check him out, Elite Fitness, and he's on Evolutionary. He's going to be starting the post on Evolutionary as well. Lifted Living with Legacy. Lifted Living with Legacy. You can do a search for him and check out his log and see what his physique looks like. He's a big, big motherfucker for sure.
Okay.
Thanks so much for coming on, buddy.
I appreciate that, y'all. It was a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Our pleasure, fella. Please note, we are not doctors and your opinions are ours. It is our view based on our experience and views on the topic. A podcast are for informational purposes and entertainment only. The freedom of speech and the First Amendment applies.